are joined today with Arsenal and Northern Ireland international Daniel Ballard, all the way from Stevenage. How you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. I'm sure we'll treat you well. So then, how's life in Blackpool?
Yeah, it's great. It's going really well, to be fair. Probably couldn't have asked for a better place to come. All the lads and that made me feel so welcome right from the start, and I've been really enjoying myself, and it's just such a difference from my first loan last year, just from straight away really. Just all the lads and that made me feel so welcome, and the area I'm living in is lovely, and it's nice to be able to enjoy and focus on my football and go into training every day and look forward to it and look forward to spending time with the lads.
Wicked. Neil?
Yes, like you said, it's a great place to go. What's it like working under Neil Critchley? Obviously, it's his first job in first team football, I suppose, coming from the Liverpool under 23s. What's he been like? Has he been a good influence for you so far?
Yeah, I think he's been brilliant because he's obviously just come from the under 23 scene where I was playing for a couple of years, and he's seen me play a few times, and so he understands like a bit of the transition going from like the youth setup into first team football. So obviously he's been brilliant in helping me settle in, and telling me lots of things which I can do to improve, but teaching me how to adapt to sort of this League One football because it's so different.
Talk us through where it started for you, Dan. What's your earliest footballing memory, whether it be playing football in the garden or at school, or where did it start for you?
I remember I've always loved football as a kid, and one thing that sticks out to me a lot is having like birthday parties as a young kid, and you go to a hall with all your mates and you'd have food after, and like I don't know why they stick out, and that's probably like the happiest memories I probably have of football. And I was so competitive as a little kid, and I just loved it, and they're probably my earliest memories. And then I was obviously extremely fortunate to sign at Arsenal at such a young age.
Yeah. Can you tell us about the story of when it all started to really get going?
Yeah, so like I was playing, I think, for Fairland's youth at the time. I was extremely young, and I think I was playing up a year or something. I wasn't quite sure. And then Brian obviously come along, had a look at the games, and I got like a trial at Arsenal when I was 7 or 8 years old. And so obviously I've had a extremely like lucky and like the best start to football someone could ask for, and probably have some of the best coaches at a young age to teach you sort of like the fundamentals and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was pretty smooth sailing at the start, to say the least. Up until about hit the teenager years, and then obviously a lot of it starts to get slightly more serious, and the competition gets a lot better and a lot tougher, and that was when it really changed for me and started to become extremely tough.
Did you know, like right at the beginning when you started playing football, like for Fairland's youth, that did you know that you was better than everyone else on the team? Like, did you think, I can probably play a couple of years up here, or did you feel like you was getting quite far advanced quite quickly?
No, I think as a kid you're not really thinking about that. You just want to go play, have fun, enjoy it. And for me, I just wanted to go and win, no matter what it was doing. And I didn't like that side of myself when I was young, because I simply I couldn't lose. I'd cry, make a fuss, make a scene, but I just couldn't help it as a kid. It's probably helped me a lot along the way. I still feel a little bit like that now, which is probably why I'm quite aggressive in the games, and I have that desire to win. So it's a good thing in a way. But as a kid, I used to not like being like that so much because it would cause a lot of hassle.
See, I did text Connor Eblett because he did say that he used to play for you, and I said, what was he like? And he said, we went to the Nationals together and he was mustard, mate. Some of the teams we played, he never had fear and he always was tearing around the pitch. He stood out like a sore thumb. So you might not think that, but Connor Eblett does.
Connor was... I used to play with him at Fairlands Youth. I think we both used to play up a year. So it was him and his family that really sort of introduced me to football because I think my mum had sort of experienced it a little bit with my older brother. And she, to be honest, she wasn't too fussed. She couldn't be bothered with the hassle of Sunday mornings and that. So I think they used to take me a lot of the time. So, you know, I'm extremely thankful for that. Sort of allowed me to have that opportunity.
It's incredible stuff, really. Like you said, you were scouted by Arsenal at quite a young age, and obviously you was released by Liam Brady when you was playing for the under-14s. And one thing that Liam said is that he's never seen a kid so upset after being released, so he obviously changed his mind on that decision. What was that like for you, that first feeling? I know obviously you were still quite young, but how did you feel when you first sort of found out that news? Did were you thinking, right, I'm just going to try and push on another club, or was that going to be it for you?
I think the first time it happened with Liam Brady, I could feel it coming, to be honest. Like it wasn't a shock almost, but so I'd sort of been preparing myself for it. But you know, when it finally happened, and when he sort of said the news, it was, I don't know, something just come over me, and it was quite heartbreaking because as a kid, like. Or as for any footballer really, especially at a young age, you know, that's your whole identity, and it's quite tough for a young person to have their identity sort of taken away from them. Because I've always been known as Dan, the one that plays for Arsenal, and it's like a lot of young boys and that when they play at these things, they sort of carry that tag around with them, and when you take that away from them, I'm sure they can feel, or I felt like it was extremely tough, like to walk around as a person. You're not that person anymore. You're not you feel almost above some people, and to take that away, it's extremely tough to deal with. And I think there's been some stories in the news of young lads sort of really struggling and taking their own lives. And, you know, I think there's a lot more the clubs can do to help support them because they do. It is tough to sort of experience, especially at such a young age.
Mm.
Yeah, it can get quite a cutthroat industry, especially at such a young age. It's so cruel.
Mm. Yeah, I mean it's fine. It's trying to find that balance really, because obviously you're going to experience that. Like everyone's going to have these ups and downs, but I think just maybe they could do more to sort of help support the young people, and especially sort of the families and friends that are around them. Could probably do, not everyone, obviously everyone's situation is different, but they could maybe be coached or sort of advised as to how to deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. But like if things don't work out, they have something to fall back on, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened after that then? What happened once the Liam Brady decision was overturned?
It was a pretty similar story. You know, I was always struggling, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I love football, love playing for Arsenal. Like, but I was never sort of the pick of the bunch, and always give my all and always worked extremely hard, which is probably what kept me there. But was never technically gifted or, you know, one of the better players. So it was a bit of a struggle again for the next 2 years, till it come to a scholar decision, and then obviously I got the news I was being released again. But I sort of had a different mindset that time.
Yeah, I guess you was a little bit older then as well.
Yeah, I was a little bit older. I had a bit more knowledge. I was sort of ready for the challenge, and I was excited to finally go and feel a bit more valued and feel like one of the better players, maybe at a smaller club.
What club did you go to from there?
I had quite a few trials lined up. I went to Southampton, come back, but then broke my ankle, so I couldn't go and trial at a lot of the clubs, which again was quite a shit period, quite a tough period to go through. You know, you see all your friends and that signing for new teams, or you know, starting as scholars at Arsenal, and you're sort of sat here with dodgy ankle and having to sign up for A levels and something you never thought you'd have to do. So it was tough. It was tough, yeah.
What was it like then? You know, you go through those periods at Arsenal as a youngster, and then all of a sudden you find yourself thrown in the deep end at one point with the game against Bayern Munich. What was that like? That experience, that that initial, and playing against a team such as that. What did that feel like? What was going through your head at those moments?
At that time, I was about to actually sign at Stevenage, so I almost had a bit of a safety net there for that game, and it was a big learning point, that game, because I played with maybe a little bit of freedom, or a little bit of like, I can just go and enjoy it, and if it's the last time I play for Arsenal, then go and have fun and just show them what you got almost. And I played really well, played probably one of my best games, and that was going back to centre back. So I wasn't even sure where I was playing at that stage. It was, I didn't know myself. So they put me there, and I did really well. And then they offered me the scholar on the plane journey home.
Wow, and that was on the plane, wasn't it? So was that a bit surreal to that? Essentially, be chucked back and forth, and then come to play the 45 minutes for Arsenal again, and then on the plane journey home, oh, okay, look, we'll offer you a scholarship.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a bit of like a surreal period in my life, because I remember, it was my GCSEs going on at that time. So I spent a lot of time revising, which again, that's sort of another lesson I learned. That revision and that sort of give me that period away from football where I didn't have to think about it, and I didn't have to think, what clubs are going to take me, what am I going to do. I could almost get lost in revising for whatever it was. Even if I didn't enjoy that subject or whatever, it was a bit of an escape. So like, even now, I've tried to stay in some form of education all the time, just to give me that sort of that release from football. Because when obviously times are tough, and that, you don't want to be thinking about it all the time. You don't want to be stressing over playing a bad game and that. So it's nice to come home and have something else to focus on.
Wicked, perfect. I did text Brian, because he has scouted a lot of players, and he is well-established scout in the Hertfordshire area. I said, if you had to choose 3 words to describe him when you scouted him that made him different to everyone else, what would they be? And he said, heart, desire, and leader. Pretty strong words there from Brian. It's good. Just shows that you had a fair few setbacks, and then you came back to Arsenal, obviously the scholarship, and then life started at Swindon. How was that?
Yeah, so like, that was my first proper experience, like away from Arsenal and in that first team environment. And I don't want to say I wasn't almost ready for it, because at the time I felt like I was. But of course, it was a big culture shock, and it was thrown into the real world, and there were fans at the time, and I wasn't used to playing with them sort of pressures and that, and the real pressures from the managers and your teammates. It was like a lot to deal with, and I wasn't playing particularly well at the time, so I found it extremely tough, to be honest.
It's interesting. Like so, obviously your time at Swindon was kind of cut short fairly quickly. Obviously picking up that knee injury after 3 games was it? So was that sort of felt like a bittersweet moment, because you finally got that loan to be able to try and go out and build some experience to prove yourself, but then all of a sudden that gets cut short with something like that?
Yeah, it was annoying, because that was like my first good game, and I felt really good after that game. Obviously, not the knee didn't feel good, but you know, within myself, I felt confident, and I was, you know, like I felt like I was right. This is me. I've now sort of arrived. I've played a few games in and out, but I've got a good 90 minutes. Made no mistakes. Felt confident, and it was like ready to get going almost, because it had been a bit stop-starty up to then. And then obviously woke up the next day and it was twice the size, and you know, I went straight into Arsenal, and yeah, then I was in surgery like a week later, so it was yeah, not ideal.
Bad timing. So you recovered from your knee injury and then started training with Arsenal again, first team, wasn't it?
Yeah, so like I finally got back, played half a game against Monaco, and then obviously the pandemic sort of took over, and that was the only game I played that year. And then Arsenal, obviously the Premier League was called off at that time, and then they sort of got it back together and wanted to finish the games off, and I was lucky enough to, you know, be involved in that setup, just to be training and just to be in and around the first team and to be on their schedule. It was such like a learning experience, and even though I didn't feel like I was, you know, going to play at all, but just learning so much from the players and from the manager, the new manager, and yeah, it was. I was extremely fortunate for that.
Yeah, it's quite a pinnacle point for the club, really, with Arteta coming in. It was good to see, just as an Arsenal fan myself, like just seeing the training pictures coming through on Twitter and seeing the young players, and especially yourself, like a young local lad from Stevenage. There are a lot of Arsenal fans that do watch the show and listen to the podcast mainly, but they have asked, what is it like to be coached by Arteta, and what is it like to play with Ozil and Saka? But from your experience training firsthand with, what is it like to be in and around those players? Are there any players specifically that make you think, well, okay, I should probably do that, or they'll have the wow factor essentially?
Yeah, I think when you play in any team in the Premier League, it's full of superstars, really. So, you know, you're a bit in awe of them at the start, and you know, you can take points from every single player. Some of the big ones was David Luiz, just because of how he is as a character, and he makes you feel welcome. And you know, some of the things he does on the ball, particularly, is a lot of stuff I need to improve, and it's amazing to see like the confidence and the technique he has, and it's things you want to sort of strive towards. And then obviously you have superstars like Ozil and Aubameyang and Lacazette, who you're coming up against. Suddenly you watch them play on TV for all these years, and now you're playing 11v11s against them, and yeah, you're a bit in awe of them, and that's the level which hopefully I'll get to at some stage in my career. So it's a big shock to see the level, and sometimes you think you're a million miles away, and then the next day you have a good training session, you think, you know, I can mix it with some of these. It was just a great experience. And then obviously the manager coming in, he's sort of changed up the whole mentality of the club, and you know, it sort of gives all the players a boost, and he has a very specific style of playing, and especially for a centre-back, he's extremely demanding of what he needs. So, you know, you have to come prepared, and you have to be able to do what he asks, and to be brave, because if you don't do that, you know, at a club like Arsenal, they'll go and get a player who can do it. So, you know, you need to be prepared, and you know, you have to take your chances, even if it is just in training.
I think one of the big turning points in your career, especially, you're obviously making your debut with Northern Ireland and representing them as a country, and then that game against Norway, which seems to stick in everyone's mind. Obviously, you were man of the match for that game, 9 out of 10 rating according to Sky Sports. What was it like all of a sudden coming up against, the golden boy of the moment, I suppose, in players like Haaland? And did you feel like that was a big lesson for you as well? And obviously you played really well, but in an environment like that, it must have been a real big shock.
Yeah, I think obviously everyone's seen the quality he has, and the big thing that I learned from that was sort of the mentality he approached them games with. It wasn't just another game. He was so wired in, and I was walking out the tunnel, and you see a player like that, 6'4", and his eyes are like beaming at you, and he's ready for the challenge, and it's like. A bit like, you think a player with such a superstar like that would maybe, come 80% or something. But no, he was ready to fight for everything. And it was like, yeah, if you're not ready, then he'll run all over you. And they did that a little bit at Windsor Park where we lost, and that was a big shock. And then obviously away at Norway, we changed it up a little bit, and we was more ready, and we should have got a result from that game really. But yeah, it's you have to adapt very quickly, because if you don't, you see the qualities. They do it against the best players in Europe.
Johnny Evans, what's it like to be playing alongside Johnny Evans?
Yeah, again, you can sort of see players like that, and you see how experienced and how calm and how in control they look, and it like rubs off on you. You want to, I feel like sometimes I'm gonna be quite rash still, maybe because I'm young and that, and he's been there and played a lot more games. But like I want to be more like him. I want to be calm. I want to be in control of the situation all the time, and he has such quality, and to play next to that, it calms you. It makes you feel comfortable. You hear. When you're playing, you hear him speaking all the time, and it gives you that confidence, and it rubs off on you.
Yeah, I think the position in the centre back has changed, like especially over the last 2 years since Van Dijk's coming into the Premier League. The centre back position is so much more demanding. You're essentially like a playmaker as well as trying to be a centre half as well. So has that had quite a bit of an impact of your position as well now that the centre back position has just evolved all of a sudden?
Yeah, I think it was a big shock, obviously, when I was training with the first team, and what Arteta was asking from the centre backs, and some things I wasn't necessarily like comfortable with, that I'd generically describe myself as like a more sort of old-fashioned centre half who loves defending and heading the ball and tackling, but that's not enough if you're going to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So that's been one thing that I've been trying to work on. Mainly.
I think a good example, Rob Holding. Rob Holding's probably was a traditional centre half, and now he's playing with his feet.
Yeah, and I think it's something that obviously I'm extremely young, so I've got time to go and work on it. But even someone like him who's maybe slightly older, everyone can adapt, and everyone has to adapt, with the managers you're playing in. I'm playing in League One at the moment, and obviously there's not as much passing around the back and like rotation for the players. It's a lot more get it forward, playing their half, and don't make a mistake almost. So it's extremely tough going from style to style, and then you go play for Northern Ireland, and the teams are now popping the ball around you, and you're running a lot more, and you can't switch off, and you're playing against people like Haaland. So, but yeah, if I want to play in the Premier League, that's something I have to keep improving.
Well, like you say, obviously those Premier League ambitions are there, and obviously one of those parts, those stepping stones to making that journey is at Blackpool at the moment. Obviously you've been on loan there this season. How's that been for you, that transition to go from Arsenal to Blackpool, especially with COVID sort of ruining your social life at the minute. You can't really go out and experience, too much with your teammates. But how's that adaptation been for you, do you find?
I think it's been like a great learning experience. And like, if I think back to playing the under-23s and now playing this first team, the enjoyment I get out of winning games, and it's that times 10, and it's so like the importance of a win, and the extra pressures you get, the external pressures is so much greater. But then obviously when you're doing well, when you're winning games, it's one of the best feelings. But yeah, I'm obviously right now I've still maybe played 10 to 15 games. I'm still trying to find that routine and trying to find that balance, because we're now playing Saturday, Tuesday until the end of the season. I think we have another 18 games in a row or something. So I need to keep working on finding that balance, especially that preparing for games. I think, I can't be putting, or how do I describe it? Like, I need to not feel the pressures as much if it's going to be sustainable. I'm trying to put things in place where I'm only thinking about the game an hour before. I want to be on my phone talking to my friends an hour and a half before kickoff, as if like there's not a care in the world, because when you're feeling the pressures of the game the night before and you're playing 2 times a week, you spend half the week almost in fear, and like it's struggling, and it's hard mentally to deal with. So I'm still trying to find these the right preparation for the game to make it sustainable.
Decent. While we're on Blackpool, I've got a question from a Blackpool fan that's tweeted in at the Mighty Pool. His name's Daniel. He said, "What's the dressing room like at Blackpool at the moment, and who are your best mates if you had to choose?"
Yeah, like the dressing room's amazing. Obviously, I've only been in a few dressing rooms, but I just enjoy going into work every day, or going into football. I enjoy seeing the lads there. Everyone feels, part of the group. Everyone's in it together. Yeah, it's just brilliant. And I say some of the players that made me feel really welcome, probably like Gary Medine, James Husband, Maxi, Jordan Gabriel. I mean, I could probably name most of the players there that that I speak to. I speak to everyone every day. Kenny and Kev in midfield, and CJ. They're just all great. Just all great people, as well as great professionals and footballers. So yeah, it's just a pleasure.
How's COVID affecting you as a footballer now?
To be fair, like, it hasn't really, for me, changed a lot. I'm obviously used to playing without a lot of fans, so that's something that that hasn't affected me a lot compared to a lot of the other players. And then obviously it's just the same struggles everyone's having every day. You want to go see your mates, you want to go experience a new place, a new town. You want to go, socialise with your teammates, away from the ground. But obviously, the circumstances, you can't do that. But with the amount of games that we've got going on at the moment, and I'm extremely lucky that I can go to work and I can go and see other people, whereas a lot of people are stuck at home right now and can't go see people, and so it must be extremely tough for them. So I'm actually quite fortunate.
So obviously, being on loan, what's that relationship like with Arsenal at the moment? So do they keep in touch? Do they get maybe regular reports on how you're doing at Blackpool? What's the the back and forth like between sort of parent club and loan club?
Yeah, it's good. Like, they have a loan manager who I speak to every week, and they're following up, seeing how I'm doing, giving support if I need anything. I assume speaking to the staff at Blackpool, getting feedback. So I couldn't ask for anything more, to be honest. They're on it.
Next question is, how do you live your life now to ensure that you're going to make it at the top level? What do you think you do different to other youngsters your age? At Arsenal, you've got quite a bit of competition at the back. I mean, you've got McGuinness, you've got Saliba who's come in, you've got Mavropanos, all around a similar age. What's it like to have that that's quite a competitive position at the moment?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I don't think about that a lot. I try to control the controllables, control what I can do to put me in a better position. So I try not to sort of take into account, the things I can't influence. But yeah, obviously at the moment, there's not a lot you can do. I'm trying to be a lot more proactive, especially with my recovery and finding that balance in life to help with my football. And I think that's something I've always struggled with in the past, especially as a kid, where football was not my only thing, but it was the biggest thing in my life. Whereas now I'd like to say it's my drive, it's my goal, I put everything into it, but I also have my family, I also have my friends, I also have other hobbies. I also do a lot of other things where football isn't my everything, and I think that in return helps, and I'm a lot more proactive with keeping my mind busy in other places, so that, the pressures and that don't get on top of you. And it's something that I'm trying to do more and more. And then obviously, again, trying to keep fit in between games, obviously being proactive, going for a walk, and going for a little bike session and using the leg pumps and doing the stretching and that, just sort of the little boring things. But it all adds up, and I've had a few sort of injuries from overuse and that this year, so I need to keep on top of that. And it's tough when you play 2 games a week and you just want to lay in front of the TV, but that's not going to benefit your body.
I think that is one of the big things that people tend to forget. Obviously, you being a footballer, it's your job in a way. It's not just like a hobby for someone like me or Ash to sit down and watching it. And your average Joe, they're going to go to work and they're going to come home, and their home life is going to switch off from what they do at work. And that's kind of the same with being a footballer. Obviously, the difference is in your job, and I think people tend to forget that. Obviously, you do have those times where you want to come home and switch away from what you've been doing. And like you say, being able to come home and sort of clear your mind and keep yourself fresh is an important thing.
Yeah, and I think going into that first team environment, you see it a lot more, and your teammates and that, they have kids and they have families and they have other responsibilities, and they might run another business, and of course you'll give absolutely everything you can for football and you'll do everything you need to do, but you have other things. You purposely put other things in place to keep you busy and to find that balance.
Important stuff. Go on, Ash, do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, just gonna finish off on Blackpool, because I'm just looking at the league table now. You've got, if you haven't got 2, you've got 4 games in hand on some of the teams above you. Playoffs, they're screaming it out if you get 2 wins out of those 4 games in hand. Is that the goal at Blackpool this year, the playoffs?
Yeah, well, we've obviously turned the start of the season around, and we've been doing extremely well and picking up some big wins, especially away from home. But it's just about finding that consistency now, and we know we're right on the edge of the playoffs if we win these games. We'd rather obviously have the points in the bag, but we know we have the games in hand with other people. We know that we'll be creeping up on them, and like the game Tuesday night, we know the importance of getting a win there. It's unfortunate that we drew the game, but we're not happy with drawing that game. we know the quality in the group, and everyone's got that mindset of we want to win every game, and I'm sure we'll be up there by the end of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a good, exciting run into the end of the season. And on the score sheet the other night, which was good to see, perfect timing to get you on.
Yeah, first goal in a while. I haven't felt like I'm going to score this season, so now I've got one. Hopefully that'll give me a little bit of confidence.
Hat-trick against Wimbledon, I reckon.
Yeah.
What was that like, that feeling of getting that goal? Because obviously, I mean, your sole duty as a defender isn't to get on the score sheet, but to do so, you know, as well as get a clean sheet at the same time. What did that feel like, that moment?
Yeah, I think although I love defending and you love winning a header and a tackle, there's no feeling like scoring a goal. That's why everyone plays football. You can probably see from the photos, I was rather happy with that. So yeah, it would be amazing scoring a goal like that when the fans are back as well, so that everyone can enjoy it. But yeah, there is no better feeling in that moment.
It's only one we can dream of, Liam.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't mind scoring a goal in professional football, but never mind.
We did ask the followers that we've got on Twitter if they've got any questions for you. I don't know if you've seen them, Dan, but we have had some funny ones come in. Jake Healy said, Chels Rovers or coaching horses FC?
It's got to be Chels Rovers.
I'm sure you enjoy that one. And then the other one was about your brother, Grant Seals, but I'm not going to read that one out because it's just not nice. I'm sure your brother will appreciate it. Wicked. As a youngster, who did you look up to? Who was your football? You said that you're more of like a traditional centre half. Who was the football that you looked up at?
I was a big Chelsea fan as a kid, so John Terry and Frank Lampard were my two favourite players.
Not too bad.
Ooh, controversial. What would you say is sort of the next steps for you then? Obviously on loan at Blackpool at the minute, things are going well. You know, we're going to be reaching the end of the season in the next couple of months. What do you hope or wish for the next steps of your career to be?
It's a tough one, really. I think obviously the end goal is to play for Arsenal and to get as many international caps as possible. There, sort of representing your country. There's no better feeling than that. And I'd like to play for them as many times as possible. But I'll probably end up back out on loan next year. Keep improving or getting my numbers, getting more game time, getting the experience. I'm not sure what level that will be, but I think it's just going and learning from every single game and improving, so that when the time's right or whenever I get an opportunity, I can hopefully challenge for a spot at Arsenal.
Yeah. So obviously, so those next steps of your career, they're going to be huge. I think, like you say, the loan moves for young players are so important, and it's where a lot of them learn their trade. So, like you say, as long as if you was to go out on loan again next season, then that's obviously going to be one of your goals, is to get more sort of experience in your locker and learn more from those players around you.
Yeah, definitely, and you play with such experienced players every game. You play against experienced players every game, so it's every game's tough. Every game presents like a new challenge. So I've just got to learn from everything and learn from every mistake, because I'm sure I'll make a lot more. And it's how I deal with them and how I bounce back and improve.
Wicked. Any messages to young lads listening? Any words of advice that you'd give them?
Yeah, I'd just say go and enjoy football and don't put any pressures on yourself. And you'll probably have parents and friends and external pressures. Sort of try to block them out and do it for yourself and just really enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, then you'll be successful.
Words of wisdom there. Last question we've got from Tom Mack. He's a Blackpool fan, and he has asked, if you could play the last 5 minutes of any football match, what game would you pick? Very good question.
Oh, that's a tough question. One that sticks out in my mind right now, just so that I could change the result, would be the qualifier with Northern Ireland we had a couple months ago for the Euros in extra time. Being so close to be able to play at the Euros, possibly at the age of 21, would have been, maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I'd want to get on that pitch and try and help.
So if you want to that's all the questions from Twitter. That's me done, really. I mean, thanks for coming onto the podcast. It's going to be quite insightful for the young ones listening. I'm sure the Blackpool fans will be on this one as well. But it's good to see someone from Stevenage come in, essentially doing the town proud and starting all the way from Fairlands youth. It's great to see.
Thank you very much for having me.